The history of cocaine in America, especially during the Old Wild West, begins with excitement, slides into fear, and ends in prohibition. Derived from the cocoa plant, this powerful stimulant quietly reshaped American society, medicine, and law enforcement from the late 19th into the early 20th century. Once praised as a miracle cure and blended freely into patent medicines, cocaine soon became linked to crime, racial anxiety, and public panic. Its path through American history mirrors a nation struggling with rapid change, blurred morals, and weak regulation. To understand the Old West fully, we must trace cocaine's rapid rise and sudden fall on the frontier, where it shifted from an everyday consumer product to a tightly controlled substance in remarkably little time. This is not just a drug story, but a frontier story of ambition. Before we continue, hit subscribe for more untold histories they never taught you. The rise of cocaine on the American frontier. The cocaine alkaloid comes from the Erythroxylum cocoa plant, a bush native to the Andean region of South America, including Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia. For thousands of years this plant shaped local cultures, as indigenous populations relied on its leaves for nutrition and for their pharmacological effects, including the presence of cocaine. Across many native South American societies, chewing cocoa leaves became a daily ritual that continues even today. The Incan civilization used this practice to survive the harsh realities of high-altitude living. By consuming cocoa leaves, they increased cardiovascular and respiratory activity, helping the body cope with thin, rarefied air at extreme elevations. Archaeological evidence reinforces how deeply this habit was embedded in ancient life. Cocoa leaves have been discovered among the possessions of Peruvian mummies, preserved as valued personal items. Ancient ceramics also portray individuals with swollen cheeks, a visual marker of leaf chewing, an early surgical method intended to relieve intracranial pressure or treat head injuries. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America, they initially banned cocoa use, condemning it as a practice tied to demonic forces. That position quickly shifted. Spanish authorities realized cocoa helped sustain labor output among indigenous workers. The ban was lifted, cultivation was legalized, and cocoa was taxed, allowing colonizers to profit directly from each harvest. In 1569, Spanish botanist Nicolas Monardes documented indigenous practices involving cocoa leaves mixed with tobacco. He noted the resulting feelings of elation, comparing the sensation to drunkenness and observing impaired judgment. Decades later, in 6009, Padre Blas Valera expanded on cocoa's therapeutic reputation. He described its use in treating wounds, repairing bones, and preventing cold-related illnesses, arguing that internal consumption must offer even greater benefits than external application. As settlers observed indigenous people constantly holding cocoa leaves in their mouths, many adopted the habit themselves. News of cocoa's ability to suppress hunger and fatigue eventually spread to Europe. By the early 1800s, European scientists succeeded in isolating pure cocaine from cocoa leaves. This crystalline form proved vastly more potent, potentially hundreds of times stronger than traditional leaf chewing practiced for centuries. Although cocoa's stimulating properties were long understood, isolating cocaine remained elusive until 1855. Earlier attempts failed due to limited chemical knowledge and the degradation of plant samples during long sea voyages. That year, German chemist Friedrich Gadke successfully extracted the cocaine alkaloid, naming it atropine, and publishing his findings in a leading German scientific journal. Soon after, chemist Friedrich Bauer arranged for Dr. Karl Scherzer aboard the Austrian vessel Novara to collect cocoa leaves in South America. 3 years later, when the ship returned from its global expedition, a chest of leaves was delivered to Bauer, who passed them to Albert Neumann, a doctoral student at the University of Göttingen. Neumann refined the extraction process, making purification of the cocaine alkaloid more efficient. This discovery ignited widespread interest in Western medicine. In 1879, a chemist from the University of Würzburg demonstrated cocaine's analgesic properties by immersing a frog's limbs in cocaine solution and salt water. The cocaine-treated limb showed reduced response, confirming its anesthetic effect. Cocaine soon drew attention from Karl Kohler, an associate of Sigmund Freud. In 1884, Kohler tested cocaine for inocular surgery by applying it to his own eye and probing it with needles, discovering complete desensitization. Meanwhile, Italian physician Paolo Mantegazza returned from Peru in 1859 after observing cocoa chewing firsthand. Back in Milan, he experimented with cocaine and praised its effects, suggesting it could treat ailments such as halitosis, flatulence, and even whitened teeth. one of the most influential commercial ventures followed. Chemist Angelo Mariani, inspired by Montagazza, launched Vin Mariani in 1863, a wine infused with cocoa leaves. Alcohol extracted cocaine from the leaves, producing a stimulating drink containing 6 milligrams per ounce. Stronger versions were exported to the United States. These cocaine-infused beverages began appearing in medicine cabinets and storefronts just as Americans pushed westward into the frontier. Arriving at the height of Old West lawlessness, they spread alongside frontier expansion, embedding cocaine into everyday life across the developing West. Wild West, white powder. In the late 19th century, cocaine gained its first real foothold on the American frontier, where laborers used it as a powerful stimulant. Employers, driven by misguided beliefs, often supplied workers with cocaine, convinced it would boost endurance and productivity. This practice became especially common among African American workers, fueled by racist assumptions that they benefited more from the drug. Medical reports of the era falsely claimed cocaine made black laborers immune to extreme heat, reinforcing dangerous myths. That reputation did not last long. By 1897, Colorado became the first state to regulate cocaine sales, responding to growing alarm within the mining industry. Cocaine use soon spread beyond African American laborers and into broader working-class populations, particularly in northern cities. Its appeal was simple. Compared to alcohol, cocaine was cheap, accessible, and effective. Across the Northeast, factory hands, textile mill workers, and railroad employees relied on cocaine to push through exhausting shifts, sometimes treating it as a substitute for caffeine. At the same time, social anxiety began to rise. Moral reformers warned that vulnerable groups, especially young women, were being lured into cocaine use, with claims that addiction would inevitably lead to prostitution. These stories circulated widely, though solid evidence behind them remained limited. Among those who seized cocaine's popularity was John Peyton, a Civil War veteran battling morphine addiction after a battlefield injury. Seeking relief, he turned to cocaine and found opportunity. Inspired by Vin Mariani, the famous cocoa-infused wine, Peyton created his own product, Peyton's French wine cocoa. Marketed as a cure-all and even an aphrodisiac, it quickly found success. That success faced a turning point in 1885, when Georgia enacted temperance laws. Forced to remove alcohol, Peyton replaced wine with sugar, creating a new beverage that would later become Coca-Cola. After Peyton's death, Asa Griggs Candler took control, promoting Coca-Cola as a patent medicine, a common strategy of the era. It was advertised as a remedy for exhaustion and headaches. In 1898, threatened by a proposed congressional tax on medicines, Coca-Cola rebranded itself as a beverage rather than a medical product. Its name reflected its core ingredients, cocoa leaves and cola nuts. While the exact cocaine content remains unclear, early versions undeniably contained the drug. During this period, cocaine remained widely accepted as a stimulant, even as concerns about addiction surfaced in the late 1890s. Across the frontier, cocaine could be purchased almost anywhere, from pharmacies and taverns to general stores and mail-order catalogs. Originally introduced in the 1860s as a treatment for morphine addiction, cocaine soon became a common over-the-counter remedy. It appeared in lozenges for sore throats and dental pain, and doctors prescribed it for ailments ranging from digestion problems to pregnancy-related nausea. By 1885, cocaine came in cigarettes, powders, and injections. Promoted as a medical miracle, it fueled a growing national health crisis as soldiers, laborers, and settlers consumed it daily. Snake oil salesmen carried cocaine products across the frontier, including cocaine candy, sold for 5 cents a tin in flavors like poppy and hemlock, proving the Wild West was already high on risk. In 1885, pharmaceutical giant Parke-Davis began mass-producing and distributing a wide range of cocaine-based products, including cocoa leaf cigarettes, inhalants, cordials, crystalline cocaine, and injectable solutions. Its bold marketing claimed cocaine could replace food, give courage to the timid, grant eloquence to the silent, and render the body nearly immune to pain. Cocaine's reach quickly moved beyond medicine into popular culture. By the late 1890s, it appeared in literature, most famously in Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories, where the detective used cocaine injections to relieve boredom between cases. The drug's popularity soon flooded early 20th century cities. In Memphis, Tennessee, cocaine was openly sold in Beale Street drugstores for as little as 5 or 10 cents. Along the Mississippi River, dock workers relied on it to endure exhausting shifts, while many Caucasian employers encouraged its use among African American laborers to boost productivity. Cocaine even accompanied explorers into the unknown. During his 1909 Antarctic expedition, Ernest Shackleton packed forced march cocaine tablets among his supplies. 1 year later, Captain Robert Falcon Scott carried similar tablets on his ill-fated journey to the South Pole. By 1894, cocaine abuse epidemics were emerging across the American West. Cities like Dallas, Texas were among the first to report serious problems. Newspapers increasingly portrayed cocaine not just as a health issue but as a growing social danger, especially when linked to African American and working-class communities nationwide. These narratives were driven by racial prejudice. Southern cities promoted fears of rampant cocaine use among African American populations. Alarm spread rapidly, prompting lawmakers in Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee to propose early anti-cocaine laws by 1900. Sensational journalism intensified the panic. In 1901, the Atlanta Constitution claimed cocaine use among black residents had surged. The New York Times soon followed, alleging the drug heightened sexual urges and transformed peaceful black citizens into violent aggressors. Some medical professionals reinforced these claims, arguing cocaine pushed African American toward crime. A Mississippi judge notoriously stated that giving cocaine to a black person was more dangerous than infecting a dog with rabies. These racist beliefs shaped policing and policy. In 1906, racial conflict erupted after white citizens reacted to reports of so-called black cocaine fiends committing crimes. White-led violence fueled by exaggerated fears was common during this era. Police departments responded by adopting higher-caliber weapons, believing cocaine granted superhuman strength. Another myth claimed the drug improved marksmanship, encouraging aggressive confrontations. Public sentiment hardened. Cocaine became synonymous with crime, especially when associated with black communities. Sensational headlines cemented the image of the violent cocaine-crazed menace. Before federal action, states and cities imposed their own controls. Authorities relied on nuisance laws such as vagrancy or disorderly conduct. With no national framework, enforcement remained inconsistent and often uneven across regions. Officials targeted sellers rather than manufacturers, focusing on pharmacies. Health boards and regulators oversaw sales. Georgia led in 1902, becoming the first state to fully ban cocaine. Other states chose restrictions. Louisiana limited sales with medical exceptions. California passed a 1907 prescription law, resulting in more than 50 arrests within a year. New York followed in 1913, restricting cocaine stock. Labeling laws soon required cocaine products to be marked as poisonous. The drug's decline was reflected in figures like William Halsted, a pioneer of modern surgery, whose addiction revealed cocaine's risks. Sigmund Freud offered another warning. Once an advocate for cocaine, he withdrew support after suffering epistaxis and cardiac arrhythmia. As addiction spread, fear replaced fascination. In 1914, Congress passed the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, regulating and taxing opiate and cocoa-derived substances. Despite resistance, panic over the cocaine fiend ensured passage, amplified by media and physicians. The act marked one of America's first nationwide drug controls. After enforcement, cocaine faded from public life as the old frontier era came to a close. Its brief acceptance vanished quickly, leaving behind fear, policy, and myths. If this hidden chapter of the Wild West surprised you, hit like, subscribe, and ride with us into more forgotten history.